Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today we are diving into some powerful biblical teachings that offer timeless wisdom for both employees and employers. Whether you are at work or managing a team, the Bible provides guidance that can transform our professional lives. Let's explore what God's Word says about working with integrity and treating each other with respect. Ephesians 6 verse 5 to 9, it says, "Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Obey them not only to win their favor when their eye is on you, but as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from your heart. Serve wholeheartedly, as if you were serving the Lord, not people, because you know that the Lord will reward each one for whatever good they do, whether they are slave or free. And masters, treat your slaves in the same way. Do not threaten them, since you know that He who is both their master and yours is in heaven, and there is no favoritism with Him." What does it mean? Well, Paul says, employees, obey your earthly bosses sincerely, just as you would obey Christ. This means we should approach our work with genuine sincerity, not just to impress our bosses, but as if we were serving Christ Himself. In Paul's time, slavery was a common practice. Slaves had no rights and were often mistreated. While the Bible does not condemn slavery outright, it speaks strongly against its abuses, very strongly against its abuses. I can give you some references, you can check them after you listen to this podcast. You can check Exodus 21 verse 16, 26 to 27, Leviticus 25 verse 10, Deuteronomy 23 verse 15 to 16. It strongly speaks against its abuses. Paul's advice is timeless and applies to all employees today. He encourages us to obey our bosses consistently, except when they ask us to do something against God's word. Acts 4 verse 19 to 20, it says, "But Peter and John replied, 'Which is right in God's eyes, to listen to you or to him? You be the judges. As for us, we cannot help speaking about what we have seen and heard.'" Isn't it amazing? At no cost, we are to disobey God, but we are also encouraged to obey our earthly bosses consistently. Even if our bosses are not always deserving of respect, we should serve them as if we were serving Christ Jesus. In 6th verse, Paul warns against eye service. If you remember, I quoted the passage from the Bible. Paul warns us against eye service, which means working hard only when being watched. He also warns against being men pleasers, working solely to promote our own welfare. Instead, we should work to honor both our employer and the Lord, who is our true master. Remember, God sees and rewards our attitude and actions. Every good deed done for His glory will be rewarded. As reference, you can check Colossians 3 verse 23. It talks about it. We don't have much time, or else I would have quoted all the verses that I just mentioned. But I'll leave it to you. You can read them later. Now let's talk about employers. In 9th verse, Paul says, treat your employees with the same respect and fairness. Don't use threats or be abusive to them. Instead, be just gracious, kind. Knowing that you also have a master in heaven who shows no favoritism. God shows no favoritism. And the Bible talks about it. You can check Acts 10 verse 34, Romans 2 verse 11, James 2 verse 9, where you will understand that God shows no favoritism. But God is calling employers too. God is calling employers to be just and gracious to employees. God is telling them to not to be abusive, not to use threats. Now, regarding slavery, there are 2 points you can note. Slavery in Paul's time was like indentured servanthood, meaning it was temporary and not based on race. And Paul's commands do not endorse or support slavery, but regulate it. Paul gives instructions both negatively and positively. Negatively, slaves or employees should avoid wrong motives like being insincere or just trying to please people. Positively, they should show respect and have good intentions and see their work as serving God. These commands are based on God's fair reward and judgment. Just as employees have responsibilities, so do employers. The same things. The same things refer to the Christ followers, Christ disciples, their attitudes mentioned in this passage. Employers must not be abusive, manipulative. In conclusion, whether you are an employee or an employer, these biblical principles remind us to work and lead with integrity, respect, and sincerity, knowing that we serve one Master who is in heaven. Let's honor each other in our workplaces as we honor Christ. Can we do that? Thank you for joining us today. If you found this message inspiring, please like, share, and subscribe for more biblical insights. Until next time, may God bless you and guide you in all your endeavors.